Namaste. Attachment to others. So this there was a series of questions on WhatsApp. Not questions, some quotes. So they are primarily from volume 13 and volume 14. And somebody has asked to clarify on that. And quite naturally, it's a very uh, you know, not easy. When we deal in human life, the moment we enter into human life, we are attached. And after all, if we are not attached, we would not lead a human life. Let's understand the whole dynamics of the whole thing. So, very often, people, as I always say with this background, that whenever we read a quote of the mother, please understand it's only one aspect she is showing. If we read the totality, it will be very different picture. That's why mother has herself said, one must read Sri Aurobindo and her as a subject, read everything that she has said on that subject. Then you understand the drift, and not even then. You have to understand it. One is the experience and what they have brought to, what they have in their own life, you will see it. Let me start with this little example. Now, mother has spoken so beautifully attachment to family, and one should be, no, there should not be an attachment to family. So, first time when I heard this story of the mother's life, it was difficult for me to understand immediately. But as is always the case, Ma, you explained to me, and then as a flash, the whole difference between attachment and love became clear at that point of time. So I must go back to that context. Context is that for many years, mother came here. She did not go back. She did not meet her son. I think everybody knows that. And someone asked mother, Mother, why didn't you go? She said, didn't you feel like, now imagine that 1920 she has come permanently. Even before that, she has gone to Japan. And till 50, certainly not after that, Andre Da has come. But she was in communication. 51, after Sri Aurobindo physically withdraws, 51, 52, there is a letter also to Andre Da, that though everything is in my name, we have, she describes, we have two bullocks, we have this, that, very beautifully. Then she says that I hope you understand that though things are in my name, but actually they all belong to Sri Aurobindo, so that there is never any property claim. Of course, wonderful son of the wonderful mother, but still she clarifies. But when he comes after decades, so the mother knows when he's going to come. She arranges everything. She goes to Golkund, waits for him. And when there is a little delay, she asks Pavitra Da to check if there is a telegram waiting in the post office, because he is late. So he goes and checks and says, yes, indeed, he will be half an hour late. Now, when you look at it from one perspective, it look, how is she waiting? Because we have an idea of attachment by the other word, which is called detachment. So we think that not having attachment is to be detached from everything, the way the sannyasis were detached. It's the same problem with Tyaga and Sannyasa, which Sri Krishna clarifies in the Gita. So detachment is not opposite to attachment. It may look like that. But attachment upgraded becomes love. So the two things we have to see is not attachment and detachment. There is attachment and there is love. And the difference between the two is very simple. Attachment is an ignorant way of relating with the world around us. Attachment takes place through the sheaths of mind, life, and body, generally the surface consciousness. People with whom we live together, share our life together physically, we get attached quite naturally. People with whom we have common, give and take, we get attached, like in business, work. People with whom we have some kind of an emotional affinity, we get attached. People with whom we share common intellectual interest, we get attached. But is that the only possible relation we can have with creation? No. This is a deeper relation, and that is from the soul. There can be a relation which is a true relation, and that's on the basis of the soul. So, We have very, Sri Aurobindo of course describes it very in great detail in several places, and it's there in our scriptures. We cannot understand why, Rama is doing vilap when Sita Mata is, taken away. And Sri Aurobindo describes at great length in a chapter on the synthesis of yoga, on the chapter called renunciation. He says we have a very wrong understanding of renunciation. Of course, Sri Krishna also has explained it very well, that there is a difference between sannyasa and tyaga. So, sannyasa is an outer leaving of an object. So, when we think detached, so we think I must become indifferent and heartless about everything that is going on around. That is not really what is meant here. That is the way of sannyasa. But tyaga is always the renunciation of inner gratification, inner ego, inner desires, inner lusts that we can get from an object. It is that which has to be renounced. So once we understand the difference, then we understand that love is an objectless giving to whatever comes in your life. And that giving has a tremendous power. It has the power to uplift a relationship to divine levels. And several times we have spoken about it based on, that mother's story of Sati Anusuya, and all this we have spoken about what love is. But today we'll speak about what attachment is and how we can come out of this attachment and change it into something true and beautiful. Because very often people think that I am not supposed to be attached, so I must heartlessly discard everything and everyone in my life. Now, people who do it that, they get terribly attached to their own little ego. This is the other problem. So they are only thinking about themselves and they are bothered only about themselves, their sleep, their food, their other things, but nobody else has a place in their life. And they think they are being detached. But that's not what is meant, and we'll see that from some of the writings, some of the passages. So there is a whole chapter on attachment to others. It's a collection of letters, not a chapter that way. So Mother gives us certain sutras. The first one is, all that is based on human relationship is unstable and transient. This has to be always remembered. The problem is when we think this is permanent and this is mine forever. It's not there by its nature. That's what we were speaking of, that if you can, when Swami Vivekananda, it's attributed to him. I don't know how far it's true or not. But as the story goes, that when he was sitting with Sister Nivedita, she asked him what is love. So he held a drop of water in his hand. So I often look at it like a dewdrop. So he said, see, in the hand, it is connected with the palm. Try to close it and the water finishes. So I look at it like the dewdrop on a petal. Both have their own beautiful individuality. Both enrich each other. When you see the dewdrop on a petal, now what is happening? The petal is feeling enhanced. And the dewdrop, otherwise it's a dewdrop just dropping on the ground, it also feels enhanced. But you try to, if the petal tries to close the dewdrop within itself, it will vanish. Or if the dewdrop tries to spread out and hold the petal within itself, it will vanish. That beauty will vanish. So this is how we must understand that all that is based on human relationship, always there should be this permanent inside, that all this is ever changing. And if we get attached in this way, that this is forever mine, then life becomes a field of suffering. So first thing she reminds us is that it is unstable and transient, mixed and unsatisfactory. It is only what is established. Now she is giving another part, which is very interesting. It is only what is established in the divine and through the divine that can last and give satisfaction. Now she is not saying that you cannot have a perfect human relationship, but it must be based in the divine and through the divine. So there is a beautiful letter of Sri Aurobindo with regard to this. He says, love, friendship, affection. It's to Dilip Kumar Roy, who used to have this frequent problem. So Sri Aurobindo writes, he says, what is this? We can't have love, we can't love each other, we can't have affection, we have to be... Sri Aurobindo says, who told you that sadhaks have to be at doggerheads with each other? And then he says, friendship, love, affection are indispensable notes in the total harmony, divine harmony we are seeking. But from our experience, we have found that most often they are based on the ego and they bring in lot of unhappiness. We want them to be founded on a surer basis, and that is the soul. So our stress is first you find it, then you base it on that. Or even if you are in it, try to make sure that this is the goal, that is not the goal. If you make that the goal, then there is a problem. So here she is saying both the things. See, first part is all that is based on human, meaning thereby human consciousness. And at one place, the mother says very beautifully, he says, you know, the quality of love depends on the quality of consciousness. If you are an animal, your love is like an animal. If you are a human, your love is like a human. If you have the consciousness of a God, your love is like a God. So when she is using the word human, she is referring to the human consciousness. So all that is based on human relationship is unstable and transient, mixed and unsatisfactory. The next comes with a colon, semicolon. It is only what is established in the divine and through the divine that can last and give satisfaction. So this he reminds us. Then a friendship free from desire and attachment might be the ideal solution. But to be carried out, it requires a perfect mastery over oneself. He says that yes, that is perfect if there can be a friendship free from desire and attachment. But to be carried out, it requires a perfect mastery over oneself and an unshakable discipline of the vital and the body. Because the vital will want to usurp, possess, it will be prone to movements of jealousies, lust, anger, hatred, all these things. And the body, it will have its own demand. So, if you have mastery over them, it is possible. And as for the moment, it is not yet the case. It is wiser not to tempt the devil and to cut all relations. Look where she is saying and in what context. If you have it, possible. If you don't have it, and then she is saying to a specific person, you don't have it, so better you cut. Wiser. That too she is not giving as a command. Do it. She is saying it is wiser, because otherwise you will suffer. Then see how she sees the evolutionary process. There was a time when you were very passionate and your affections degenerated immediately into passions with all the disequilibrium that this entails. Passionate natures. You see, the passionate center is here in the navel area, and the emotional center is here. So they can easily, one can degenerate into the other. Whereas if you are living in the head, it takes time, to go down. It will start with vak center, messaging, then it will come to emotions, then it will come to passions. By then, a lot of things can happen. If the connection is at the intellectual level, that's why a kind of camaraderie or an intellectual companionship usually does not degenerate into passions, because it has to cross several layers. It will at the most go up to messaging, the vak. If emotions get involved, then also the origin is in the intellect. But because it won't, otherwise it will get easily from the affection and in natures which are passionate. If natures are not passionate, it is safe. But now you are more sober and undoubtedly you are more calm and quiet until the day there will be no attachments any longer. But, and comes the but luminous and sweet sympathies without any demand or egoism. Now when you read all this, it gives a different picture altogether. That when you get rid of that egoism and the demands, there will be sweet sympathies. What are sweet sympathies? When somebody is a problem, you rush, you help, you take care. Day and night you take care. That is a sweet sympathies. Oh, you have this need. This need is taken care of. This is called sweet sympathies. But if you take care of a need and say, Acha, one day you have to give me back. I am noting in my account. Then it is no more. Then it is based on egoism. So see how she is demand. You see, I have done this for you. What you will do for me? Tell me. Now the moment we do it, it is based on egoism and desire. Then attractions. Okay? So what is mother got to do? Immediately, oh God. Huh? All depends upon the kind of attraction. She starts with a very wide. If it is a physical attraction, the need, the instinct of the animal pushing it to reproduction. Now look at the mother with what compassion she is saying. Shichi, bad guy. None of this, no? Look at the compassion with which, look at the words. I just marvel at it. Not, oh, bad fellow, dirty fellow. You look at how she is saying. If it is a physical attraction, the need, the instinct of the animal pushing it to reproduction, the best thing is that you leave the place and not see X again. Why? For this would mean that this person's influence awakens and encourages the lower instincts. So, one part is this one kind of attraction. Second, if it is a vital attraction, you can try to purify and control it. So, see, differentiating between vital attraction and the physical. Physical is a purely animal thing. And there is a vital attraction which is not purely animal. Now she is saying if it is a vital attraction, you can try to purify and control it. Look at how she is. By avoiding a too close intimacy and cutting down your relation to what is indispensable when living in the same house. You are living in the same house. But avoid too close an intimacy. Because otherwise it will be very difficult, So it can be purified. So over a period of time, like what happens between husband and wife. Over a period of time, there is a kind of friendship which can develop. It's different that because the vital in man, seeks all kinds of things. But otherwise, they live for some time and that vital thing is overcome. And that's the only reason why one marriage is advocated for this very reason. Because then you have gone through a process of evolution. It's not about morality. It's otherwise you will have to again go through a process. But there are certain natures which go through because, there is an maybe a larger problem. Otherwise, most people with a marriage, they go through it and then they grow through it and they are done with it and only that sweet sympathy remains. If it is a sentimental and emotional attraction, now comes the third level problem of sentiments. If it is a sentimental and emotional attraction, it is easier to channelize and turn it to the divine by confining your relations to a common seeking for the divine and the spiritual life. Try to turn it. One of the sadhika once told me, said, whenever we fell in love with somebody and we would tell the mother would always say, don't crush your feelings, refine them. There are a number of examples of people. She would say, don't crush your feelings because feelings have a potential to evolve into, they will develop one day into bhakti. So don't crush them, refine them, purify them. Try to turn them to the divine by common these elements which can actually refine and purify. Then all will depend on your sincerity and reciprocal goodwill. So obviously she knows it won't be a one-day affair, but this is the direction that a relationship must take. If there is a sentimental and emotional attraction, try to find common grounds in that turning towards the divine. By whatever means, there are several means one can. So that will become something beautiful. Then another one, see how she looks at things. I very much appreciate your frankness and your sincerity. It is true that it is extremely difficult to keep free from vital mixture any close relation with human beings. She says, I know it is very difficult. But the remedy is not to cut all such relations. Again, she is saying, yoga has to be done in life and not outside life. So what is the remedy? But to be constantly vigilant on one's guard and not to allow the vital attractiveness to rule one's actions. So it will come. But don't let it start governing your life. So this is how she is saying that this is a process through which you have to go. Now this one I think was one of those WhatsApp. Keep yourself free from all human attachment and you'll be happy. This obviously anybody and everybody discovers at some point that if you are attached, oh, I didn't get this, I didn't get that, then life is misery. So If you want to be happy, if the goal is to be happy, he is making a very general statement. If you want to be happy, otherwise you'll suffer. That's the other part, very simply. Then, one last one we'll read. I think this was also there. Take advantage of the circumstances to get rid of all attachment to the members of your family. So, circumstances must be family members probably not understanding the person. I don't know, because there is a context to it. This had come also on the WhatsApp. So, but circumstances we don't know. But supposing in a family nobody understands you. So, instead of feeling unhappy about it, take advantage. It's good nobody understands. So, you are free. Inwardly take advantage. Look at it like this, that nobody understands, you are seeking. There are people, especially those who seek the divine. Very often they are misunderstood. So you should take that as an advantage, turn it into advantage. And very often people don't understand in the family why you are seeking, what you are seeking. So instead of trying to convince, get into arguments, take advantage. Take advantage of the circumstances to get rid of all attachment to the members of your family. Probably it is written to somebody whose family is also here. This is my feeling. Because there are people whose families stay here and they forget why. You see, once one member of the family comes, then it all starts. So she says, you must learn that you have no more brothers, sister, father, mother, except Sri Aurobindo and myself. This is being told to a teenager, this also I can tell you, who must be suffering. Mother, my own dad, you see, I go, we have dinner, and my mummy gets angry. She's saying, we are your mummy, papa. We are your sister, brother. So when you look at it like that, or imagine if you read the same thing in another way. See how this is the problem of the words. People often say words should not be interpreted. But the problem is how our mind will interpret it if I have a harsh consciousness. Supposing I have broken, cut, gone through life in a very harsh way. Then I'll read the same sentence in this way and see the meaning will change. You must learn that you have no more brothers, sister, father, mother, except Sri Aurobindo and myself. And you must feel free and unconcerned whatever happens to them. Read it like this. And it gives the feeling of Sri Aurobindo, the mother, being very harsh. No? But can they ever be harsh? They are so softest of the softest. Read the same thing in another way. This is important because very often when we read, we put the meaning, sounds and everything based on our consciousness. It goes through our consciousness as a filter. So if there is somebody who has believed in cutting, breaking, will say, see what Mother and Sri Aurobindo have said, cut off, break off, like that. But now read the same thing with a soft consciousness. You must learn. First there is a context now. You must learn that you have no more brother, sister, father, mother, except Sri Aurobindo and myself. Na tato, na mata, na bhrato, na bandhu. What is, she is saying this only, no? That, what does it mean? It means what you expect from father. Who is the father? Nowadays, father is ATM card. But otherwise, father is meant to nurture you, to not nurture. He's the one, he's the problem solver. Come to me if there is a problem. Go to Sri Aurobindo. I have this problem. Father. Mother, nurturer, nourishing, everything. Ma, I need this. From the baby milk to the grown-up knowledge, go to mother. Brother, why do you turn to brother? Brother is sometimes a comrade, sometimes supposed to protect you. Go to mother and Sri Aurobindo. Sister, sisterly feeling. Sisters are, very loving and caring. They may fight with you when you are a child, but all their life they will be extra protective towards you. Sister. So, turn these relations towards the divine. And therefore, the mother is saying, we are there, no? Don't feel, my child, that you are missing out. Because obviously, the sister, brother, whatever be the relationship, hum hai na. She is basically saying that. Now look at the same thing this way. And you must feel free and unconcerned whatever happens to them. How they will react. Now, whatever happens to them could mean two things. One is whether they live or die, leave them. No. It means When you turn to us, they may react, they may not understand you. Leave it to them. We are there, no? You turn to us. We'll take care of the rest. See how things can be implicit. And then she says, we are your whole family, your protection, your all in all. So the same thing when you read with a sweet consciousness imbued with the psychic touch, it gives a different flavor. When you read it with a harsh egoistic consciousness, it gives a different understanding. It is so important to read Mother and Sri Aurobindo with that, and it changes everything. Very often I have seen when they read first chapter of the Mother, people put their meaning and they ask Mother about it. Sri Aurobindo is writing, do not imagine that truth and falsehood can stay together. People often, feel scared. But what is he doing? Like a wonderful father, he is saying, my child, what are you doing? If you seek truth and you keep opening doors to falsehood, see how will the grace come in? So beautifully, he is just saying that. Karuna mein, when this was asked to Mother, that will the grace turn away? He says, no, he is not saying that. He is not saying it from the point of view of the grace. He is saying from the point of view of the human consciousness that you will close the door. Grace will never go away. Look at it, how the things can change. She explained this because people didn't understand. Do not imagine that truth and falsehood, that you will open the doors to hostile influences, you will expect the grace to act. So he's saying, my child, he's not saying the grace never goes away. Grace is always there. But you will close the doors. So he is explaining to us. So always when we read Mother and Sri Aurobindo with everything, we should read everything. I personally feel it should be a lifetime agenda just to read completely Mother and Sri Aurobindo. At least all the practical aspect. If one doesn't want to read Life Divine, Human Cycle, it's okay. Synthesis of Yoga, Letters on Yoga, the Mother's Conversations, enough to give us the practical understanding of what the yoga is about. S is on the Gita. So when we understand the totality, then what we understand is that attachment, the ignorant way of joining or understanding or relating with this world, where we want and want and want, we want to appropriate, we want, it's an egoistic and ignorant form filled with desires and expectation. But when it is the soul which connects, it gives and gives. That's why the Mother said the only rule of love is to give yourself. And only the psychic can have that attitude. Sometimes the higher vital can have that, but it cannot sustain it for long. But the soul can have it. So the last question is, okay, soul can give, but what about one's own wishes? So for that you have to turn to the Divine Mother. She will fulfill. So we connect with the whole world through love, not attachment. What about our demands, needs, expectation? Ma, ask from her everything, and she will grant us. All the different varied hues and forms she will grant. But with regard to the world, the relation should be one of giving out of a true, pure stream of love flowing from the soul. Cut off attachment, replace it with love, true love. Namaste.